Yep. On that note.
Hello, and welcome to Spooky Sips, where we put our love of horror movies into a podcast and sip some spirits along the way. I'm one of your hosts, Yvette. I'm here with my co-hosts, Laura and Brianna.
Hello.
Hey. Happy early St. Patrick's Day, sippers. Yay. We thought we would be on brand as possible and watch the 90s version of Leprechaun. Oh. I think the important things to know is that it has Jennifer Aniston as our main girl who goes to stay in a house with her dad over the summer. And there's this little leprechaun. And that's the whole movie. There you go. Mm-hmm. That's what it's about.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Have either of you ever seen it?
No, I hadn't.
So I know you guys know, but I don't know if we've talked about it on the podcast. I have like this little like $20 antenna that I plug into my TV. And my favorite and only channel that I watch is called the Comet Channel. And on this channel, it's all like sci-fi B movie, like some horror, that kind of style. And it's a low budget channel. So they'll get one movie for like the entire month.
Nice.
And so it's my favorite thing to just throw on because I love horrible movies. I think they're fun, like low budget sci-fi. I'm going to have a good time.
Fantastic.
And because I think Laura maybe found this movie. I remember one of you sent it over and I watched the trailer and I was like, this looks so familiar. And I looked it up and this was on the Comet Channel a couple years ago.
Okay.
So I hadn't watched the entire thing, but I had definitely seen parts of this movie just on TV.
Nice.
Okay, nice.
So I'm so happy we're doing it.
I am too.
Well, I think I feel like this year we've done a little bit more holiday themes. Horror movies. We won't always do, but I feel like
theme.
We've done it a few other times. So I just Googled St. Patrick's Day horror movies. And then when this one came up, and then when I saw Jen Aniston was in it as a baby, not actually a baby, but just baby face Jen, I was like, well, we have to do it.
No, we have to. Yeah, it's kind of her first film before Friends that she did. So yeah, she is very young.
Oh, so young. So this movie starts off with just strong early 90s vibe.
Oh, yes.
And I mean, I wrote a lot of notes because this is a terrible movie, but also I loved this movie.
It was so fun.
I was cracking, like literally, I was laughing out loud multiple times during this movie. It was just wild. And I feel like we see this horrific hand of the leprechaun, like in one of the opening scenes.
Yeah.
It's just disgusting. And like, they say that the leprechaun is green, but he's not.
He's
like,
not.
He has like a bad, like ugly makeup face with like lines of green.
Yeah. Some green sprinkled in.
Yeah. And then, and we just see this dude just chugging Jameson. Just,
I mean, you have to for St. Patrick's Day.
Right. Danny O'Grady.
I guess that could have also been our drink.
We also could have done that, yeah. But yeah, so we see Danny O'Grady chugging Jameson. He like comes home in a limo. And his wife is like, what are you doing? Like, we can't afford that.
Yeah, because he comes home to like a very beat down, broken country home. Like, so you can automatically tell like, oh, the limo isn't, that's what's sticking out here.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, that he's like just chugging this, liquor and like clearly celebrating. And he lets her know that he got a pot of gold. He shows her the gold from catching a leprechaun. Is what he says. I think.
Yeah, it's a bag of gold.
Yeah, it's a bag of gold. And then the next notable thing I have that happen is Yvette's worst nightmare. We hear the sound of singing children.
Yeah.
So Danny O'Grady thinks he's, got the leprechaun's gold. He's gotten away with it. I think he had gone to Ireland to supposedly for his mom's funeral or something, but then instead
and was like sending her ashes.
Yeah, instead of like coming home with her ashes, he like comes home with a bag of gold from
pot of gold.
Leprechaun.
Yep.
But so he thinks he's gotten away with it, but
In my notes, I just wrote, what is happening?
I know.
Like, I feel like we're trying to describe this as what happened, but like it was that confusing.
It really was.
Where it was it was all happening so fast.
Yeah. And so we hear the sound of singing children, and it's coming from a suitcase.
Yep.
And the little leprechaun comes out, and he ends up pushing the wife down the stairs.
Yeah.
So I have that as the first death. We get the first death pretty quickly.
Yeah.
It is.
And the leprechaun's pretty creepy. Like, his makeup is pretty.
Honestly, yeah.
And he's not green,
but he's creepy.
He's not tiny as in like 2 inches. He's 3 feet tall. Or I don't know.
And so I think this actor who plays the leprechaun is the same guy who played Willow, which I saw for the first time this year. Have either of you ever seen that
I've
classic
never even heard of that
80s movie?
No.
Oh.
It's a movie that one of my husband's friends would quote all the time.
I've never even heard of it.
And so it's like it's like a classic 80s movie.
Yeah.
And so this guy was also in that. And I feel like the reason I even bring this up is because he had the worst Irish accent I've ever heard. Like, when we hear him talk, like, clearly he's British.
Right.
He's not Irish. I was like, I could do a better Irish accent.
You can tell.
Like, it's so bad. But yeah, so he's a little person, but then they also like make his legs look funny.
Yes.
So I think they did some sort of effects or something.
Yeah, his legs were creepy.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like we have to talk about the shoes. Because I know that the actor, Warwick Davis, he insisted on the shoes.
Okay.
He was like, this is what people imagine. I think they were pretty uncomfortable. But he insisted on, and I loved them.
Every time he talks about himself, he's like, my buckle hat and my buckle shoes. And yeah. No, they were fantastic. They did the part well.
Yeah. I will say, for this entire movie, Warwick Davis was giving us 100% effort. Like, I feel like he actually did such a good job at playing the leprechaun. Everyone else was giving us 25%.
100%.
Even Jennifer Aniston, I think we can agree, was not exactly rushing.
Right. I mean, I think like maybe the kid did pretty good.
Like the little kid.
I liked the little kid.
Yeah, I think he did pretty good.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah. No, okay. So I watched this movie with Matt, and he also made this comment. He was like, why did every 90s movie have that kid?
Yes.
Like, that character of like that child, why were they in every movie?
Everyone.
But it completely was.
Everyone.
Yeah, like the kind of smart Alec, like older than his years. Like, it's just like that character though was in every 90s movie.
It really was.
Okay, so I know this is really random and a little bit out of order, but I feel like we maybe should explain our drink because I did something. I put our drink garnish inside the drink, and it is just constantly fizzing. It's like
cool.
It's like a geyser.
My tongue is turning green.
Nice.
I noticed.
Yeah.
So the drink we picked, I saw on Instagram, and it's essentially a mimosa with a little bit of blue curacao in it.
Yeah.
And a garnish of, we have for ours, rainbow airheads. And so I plopped the rainbow airhead into the drink, and it's like constantly fizzing, like it's never going to stop. It's wild. Anyway,
honestly, it's really good. I really like the drink.
It's very pretty.
Yes, would recommend for a St. Patrick's Day thing. It's just a mimosa.
Yeah,
but it's bright green.
Yeah,
and then just throw some candy in there.
Yep, you're done. You're covered.
It's a good one. I really like this one. I'm happy you found it.
Yeah.
Okay, so sorry. Back to the movie. I love how like Danny O'Grady is way more upset about that the leprechaun has stolen his gold than the fact that he just pushed his wife down the stairs.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't worry about that.
So the wife is like dying or has already died. And then somehow Danny O'Grady gets the leprechaun into a big crate.
And
I think does he shoot him? I think he shoots the leprechaun.
Oh, okay.
As a way to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I feel like they kind of made it, you know how a cross is to vampires, where like vampires are averse to the cross? That's what leprechauns, that's the effect that four-leaf clovers have on leprechauns, where like they can't pass that they can't pass them. And this is when I realized, oh my gosh, this is the most amount of stereotypes I've seen in a movie in the first 3 minutes than I've seen in any other movie ever. Like just so many bad Irish stereotypes.
Yes.
They all at the beginning.
They hit you with them right at the beginning.
Yep.
They're like not messing around.
No. Yeah, so he gets him in the crate. And then for me, the scariest part of this movie was watching him hammer the crate shut. Because I was like, oh my God, his hand. Like he was like hammering like in between his fingers. And so, yeah.
Oh, scary.
Yeah.
And then he sets the clover on top. Which I have to say, I'm a little confused when we find out later how to kill a leprechaun, why he didn't just do that.
Right. Well,
because like spoiler alert, we find out that how to kill a leprechaun is to make them eat it. Yeah. Like, why didn't he just shove it in his mouth?
Good question.
Well, because then we wouldn't have a movie.
Okay, that's true. Right. Okay, fair enough. So, plot hole thickens. Moving on, and then we're 10 years ahead.
Well, no, not quite.
Wait, why?
We have our second death.
Well, but not right.
Yeah.
Well,
he doesn't die.
We have. What I thought was our second
same.
death.
I also wrote that as a second death, but then I was like, oh, just kidding.
Right. So, he puts the clover on the crate, and then he says, I wrote down several quotes from this movie. My first favorite quote, "Burn in hell, you little green bastard." And then it seems like then the leprechaun from the crate like curses him or something, and he has like a stroke or a heart attack or something, right?
Well, yeah, because the leprechaun, we realize, has kind of like magic abilities, right? So yeah, he's able to like still talk, and I think he's even controlling some things, even from the crate.
Yeah.
And I think in it, he says that he's going to have a stroke.
Yeah.
And that's why we thought he died from a stroke, is because that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
And then we cut.
Then it's 10 years later.
Yep, 10 years later.
In North Dakota.
Oh, wait, I have to. So in the trailer, I'll get back to this later, but I ended up watching the trailer again after seeing this movie. Okay. In the trailer, they say South Dakota.
Nice.
They specifically say North, that it's North Dakota.
Are they different? They're the same place. It's fine.
I've never really been to either.
Nope, neither have I.
Like, why would you go to the Dakotas? I don't know. Mount Rushmore's in one of them.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I've heard it's very lackluster.
Yeah, but still, I want to go to every state. So someday.
No, I don't care at all.
Yeah. Hit the Dakotas.
Yeah.
Never had that desire.
So Jen Aniston plays Tori.
Yes.
And from the beginning, her style,
impeccable.
Like her dress, and then her shorts that she has like jean shorts with like flowers and stuff.
Patches.
And
all over.
Yeah, these patches and the sneakers in this movie from both her and the kids were just amazing.
Yeah. So one of the quotes that I wrote down was, so we get the cutscene and then we get like the car driving. You know, we realize that, you know, and I think we hear the voices of, I don't remember her character's name.
Tori,
sorry. Tori and her dad. I know. This is a double, okay?
Yeah, it is. We're doing a double feature. This is our second recording.
Second one. We hear Tori and her dad, and I think one of the first things she says is, "Dad, I'm still depressed."
Yes, that is. I loved it.
Like,
favorite opening line.
Dad, I'm still depressed. Like, aren't we all?
We feel you, Jen.
Yep.
Tori.
So yeah, very clearly she does not want to be where they are.
No.
And quickly they pull up to the house and it's just like dilapidated and abandoned.
There's all these cobwebs and a giant tarantula.
I know there's for some reason
a
tarantula, which I'm guessing isn't accurate. There's probably not actually tarantulas, and
there might be. I don't know.
There's honestly no way for us to know.
Right. But they get there and she's like, what the hell is this? Basically, like,
yeah.
And
I want to go to LA.
And there's no indication as to why they're there. Like, yes, we know he bought this house.
Yeah.
But, like, why?
Get a job or what?
Like, it's out in the middle of nowhere. And it almost feels like maybe they want to, like, flip it, like, renovate it. Like, why?
I don't know.
There's no context.
It was probably cheap as hell.
Still,
he does say he got a deal.
Right,
he
but
it still doesn't explain.
It still doesn't explain.
It doesn't look like a hot housing market.
Right.
I don't remember the context of this quote that happened at the same time, but maybe it's because, as Jen says, this is the 90s.
Yeah. It's the 90s.
Yeah.
Probably why.
Yeah, because, okay, they get to the house and immediately we meet the other characters in this movie.
Cutie Nathan.
Mm-hmm.
Which, my question is, what were they doing there? All of a sudden,
yes,
they're at their house.
My guess is that he had like called ahead.
Like the dad had called ahead to hire painters. I don't know. It just was so random because they so Tori and her dad arrive at the house and then immediately, like she like runs into the cutie boy Nathan.
Yeah.
And like his painting crew, and it's just so random that they're there. It was so weird.
Yeah. No, it's like, okay, so there's 5 people in this town and we just met all of them is what I'm assuming at the beginning of this movie.
So I only took one note while watching this movie, and it was, wait, I love the painter's paint shirt, because Ozzy had a red shirt on and it had little paintbrushes on it.
So cute.
And I thought that was so freaking cute.
So cute.
Like his shirt had paintbrushes and he's a painter. That's the only thing I took of note of this whole movie.
You guys, I think I know our next Halloween costume because I need to dress up as in Jen Aniston's clothing.
Oh God.
And I feel like, I don't know, somebody can get that paint shirt. Somebody could be the Leprechaun.
No.
That might be a little niche. I don't know if a lot of people get.
Yeah, okay, fine.
Moving on.
So I feel like at this point, just everything, the vibe of this movie so gave me a Tremors vibe.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So just the way it's like kind of cheesy, but good and endearing anyway, and like terrible, but in a great way.
Totally.
So I totally got the Tremors vibe from this movie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so the painters that we meet, it's just such a strange dynamic.
Yeah.
So there's as I call him Cutie Nathan, like there's Pretty Boy Nathan, who ends up like, in a having chemistry with Tori, I guess you'd say. And then there's Ozzy, and then what's the little boy's name?
Oh, the little boy. Was it Alex?
Yes.
Sure, yeah.
Yes, okay. That was it.
I think Alex.
So then there's Ozzy and Alex who are like best friends, but why is a 40-year-old man best friends with a 10-year-old boy? It was such a strange.
I almost thought they were brothers, but maybe they weren't.
No.
They were besties.
Nathan and Alex are brothers.
Oh.
And then Ozzy's just Alex's best friend.
Okay.
It was very strange vibes.
But we were just supposed to accept that.
Like nothing like
sinister.
No. It was just like why would you?
Well, because I think we also know that Ozzy is
developmentally closer to Alex in age than he would be to Tori's father. No, so Ozzy is developmentally much younger, but still
and Alex is mature, so it's kind of like maybe they been out.
Yeah.
But still, why?
Still weird. It's still weird. But at least Ozzy has a paint shirt.
Yeah.
So Tori was like gonna leave. She was like gonna go stay at a hotel. But then she bumps into Cutie and she's instantly like, I'm here to renovate the house too.
Yeah.
I can handle it.
Yeah.
He's like, what, are you scared of spiders? And she's like, no.
Well, give me something heavy to hold. I can do it.
I love it.
The acting in this movie is like, it's almost too good, really.
And so then the clover falls off the crate.
Yeah. Because they go down there and they're looking and like it gets like pushed aside or something and it falls off the crate.
No, they're literally like, oh my God, what's in the crate? Like it's
and she spills her drink. She had a tray that to Nathan, and she like sets it on the crate but knocks it over because she gets scared.
Yeah.
And that knocks off the clover.
And I think that also wakes up the leprechaun. Like we see him kind of wake up.
Peeking out.
Yeah. So he's just been living in there for 10 years without any food or water or anything. Right. But he, is a leprechaun.
He's magical.
He survives. Yeah. Maybe like eats spiders or something.
Yeah, maybe.
But this is then when we see a little bit more of the leprechaun, and this is where we get a close up of his face and his teeth, and he had the grossest teeth.
Teeth were amazing.
They did such a good job of making him really repulsive.
Oh yeah,
because it was almost like the only green on him was like goo. Like he was like pussing green goo is like where the face came from.
Yeah.
It was gross. It was great.
Yeah, no, his makeup and costume and everything, his was really good. Again,
his was so good. Yeah.
The leprechaun was giving maximum effort. I mean,
with the exception of the worst Irish accent I've ever heard.
Other than that.
Like the accents in this movie, because also Ozzy was like Southern.
Yeah, the
Irish leprechaun was
a little
really
British.
English.
Right.
And the accents were wild.
Yeah, they were.
So then the next thing I remember is that I don't remember what happened with the leprechaun, where he went.
So the leprechaun is woken up by Tori spilling the drink, but then later Ozzy's in the house. I think he might even be looking for them or something. Ozzy's in the house and we hear children again.
Oh,
and it's a child begging to be let out of the crate.
Yeah.
So Ozzy sets the leprechaun free.
That's right.
Yes.
And the leprechaun just kind of thanks him and leaves him alone. Like he doesn't,
because he's just looking for his gold.
Right. He's like, okay, thanks, bye. Like,
I think he might even ask for his gold or something.
Yeah. But he like, I feel like kill him or hurt him.
Yeah. But I feel like Ozzy was afraid. Maybe.
Yeah.
Because then,
like Ozzy really was into the lore of leprechauns.
Yeah.
Like, he kind of was into that sort of thing, because when he goes and tells everyone, they're like, oh, Ozzy, not again. Like, they act like this is something he just does, where, I
feel like even earlier he had said something else, some sort of like conspiracy. So it's like, this is very much
UFO.
So like, the UFO. Yeah. It's very Boy Cried Wolf.
Yes.
Where they're like, oh, okay. Yeah, of course it was a leprechaun. But so at this point, Ozzy's the only one that has seen him.
But then we see a rainbow. And so Ozzy and Alex go and they follow the end of the rainbow, and it goes to this like old truck. And then they find this sack of gold coins.
Yeah. The question again is, why did the leprechaun not just go do that?
I don't know.
Maybe the leprechaun didn't see the rainbow.
Maybe,
No, there's no way.
I don't know.
It was huge. Why?
It was,
Yet again,
he was inside.
We could have solved this case.
Yeah.
Like,
maybe it was like leprechaun was inside, didn't see the rainbow. They got to it first. Rainbow went away.
Okay.
Right.
And so then
suspend belief. Moving on.
They're like wondering if it's real gold. So Ozzy goes to bite it, because you know how you can test if gold is real by bite. Is it that if you bite it, it does dent if it's gold? And that it's fake if it doesn't dent?
I have no idea.
I actually don't know. But I don't know. But sweet Ozzy, as he goes to just bite it, he accidentally swallows it.
Eats it.
He just eats the gold coin.
He just eats the gold coin. And then they decide instead of giving the gold to the leprechaun or showing it to anyone, they need to keep it secret, because then Alex tells Ozzy, like,
oh yeah,
they're gonna keep the gold so that Ozzy can get an operation
to make him smart.
And he wants to give him an operation to make Ozzy smart.
I thought that was like a burn. Like
no, but I
thought he was making fun of it.
I know.
I think it was actually supposed to be like endearing.
No, I think it was. It was. Yeah.
Well, and we learn later, because they bring up the operation to make Ozzy smart later. And Alex admits, I know that an operation cannot make Ozzy smarter, but Ozzy doesn't know that. So I wanted him to think that he was going to be able to get an operation to get smaller. Oh, but I literally laughed out loud at that part.
I was like, oh, burn. We'll go get you that operation.
It's amazing.
So yeah, they take it to like an antique pawn shop type thing.
Yeah, at some point. Yeah.
And the guy looks at it and he's like, yeah, it's real. And he keeps one of the pieces in his safe.
Yeah, he does. That will come into play later.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think he even gets the chance to put it in the safe, does he?
No, you're right. Maybe he doesn't. No, he doesn't. Because the only missing piece is the one that Ozzy ate. You're right.
Yeah. Because as soon as Alex and Ozzy leave, we hear the tricycle.
Yes.
Come inside.
Which was an amazing scene.
It was so good. Yeah, so that's our third death is the pawn shop owner gets pogoed to death.
Pogo sticked to death.
It was the kind of thing where, again, like when a movie is good, I don't use my phone at all. When it's not, I cannot help myself. So it was like the kind of thing where I looked down and I was scrolling, and then all of a sudden he's just being sticked to death, and I was like, "Wait, what's happening?" I had to like rewind it.
I watched this whole movie. I don't know, something about the vibes of this movie. I was so into it.
It was so fun. So after the leprechaun Pogo sticks the guy to death, I think it's in the store, right? Is the car.
Yes.
Because at this point, the leprechaun is upgraded from a tricycle to the coolest little car. I was like, where do I buy this car? It's like a dope little truck.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it was so cool. Do you remember the cars that like are built for toddlers or whatever, but that are fully, like you can like actually drive them. Little kids can drive them. I always wanted one, but they were so expensive. We didn't have enough money for it when we were younger. No. But I always was jelly of those. Like I wanted one so bad.
Like my childhood would have been better, if I had one of those little Jeeps.
I agree.
Oh, I think that really would have done it.
I'll just talk to my therapist about that.
It's fine.
You should. Like, I've actually had a revelation of how my life could have been better. So here we go.
Okay, so I know we don't have to tell like every detail in order, but I want to backtrack to just before the pogo shop.
Okay.
Or the pogo. Pogo shop. I mean, pogo death.
The pogo sticky incident.
Pogo stick. So after they found the gold, then we do get some hints that the leprechaun is really bad. I mean, already he's, killed someone, but that he's really bad and that he's like on the loose and he's like looking for his gold and wants to hurt people along the way. And we know that because, so Jen Aniston, Jen Torrey or whatever, I guess.
Jen Torrey.
She is painting with the cutie Nathan, painting the house.
Can we pause for a fucking second and talk about the colors that they painted their house?
Oh God, yeah.
That paint choice.
I can't.
Also, they're doing a terrible job.
They're doing a terrible job. No one would paint that way.
Yeah.
They're like doing just like streaks of paint of just the primary color red and blue.
It's
it's so stupid.
So ugly.
Like, why? What?
I don't understand. I don't understand.
Yeah.
So their paint choices were atrocious.
Yes.
But I think Jen goes to get paint from the truck or something, and as she's going to get paint from the truck, something is like caressing her leg. And it's the leprechaun. He's like messing with her. And still people don't.
Yeah, her dad's like, it's probably just a cat.
Yeah. Because then he scratches.
Right.
Yeah, he scratches her. So she gets this mark on her leg and they're like, it wasn't a person. Because she's like, someone did that.
Yeah.
And they're like, it wasn't a person. It was probably just a cat. And then she's like, no, it was a man. And they're like, it could have been a man. Like, and then she uses the quote, I know what it feels like when a man caresses my leg.
Yep.
And her dad's like, what?
And Nathan's like, you would have let me?
Right?
Oh, yeah, because she thought it was Nathan.
Yeah, it was Nathan.
But then, obviously, when he scratched,
right.
So, we've just gotten some.
Yeah, and then the dad actually went to the tree because we hear him yowling.
Yes.
And there's like a hole in the tree, and he puts his hand in. And he's like, here, kitty, kitty. And it like attacks his hand and like chews a hole in his hand.
Yeah, it's giant bite mark on his hand.
Yeah.
I have to say a very quick side note is when before they started painting and we're just out there, I love that like it panned to another scene and we go back to Tori and Nathan and they just have like blue painted on their.
Oh my God.
I was like, are you kidding me?
So bad. Like
a tiny little like paint marks
of paint. And that's so that we think they had been painting. I was like, what?
It's so bad.
Just like on their arms.
Like, oh, how cute. We like missed the house.
And like their upper arms.
Yeah, their upper
not
arms.
even their hands. Like,
it's so bad. It's so bad.
So anyways, the dad is injured.
So he's in the hospital.
That's why Ozzy and Alex ended up being able to go to that pawn shop.
They all went to
they all went to town to bring the dad to the hospital.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what happened here. So they all meet up at the diner. When do they actually see the leprechaun?
Well, first we get the leprechaun is kind of like following them, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And we get the encounter of the leprechaun and the cops.
Oh,
but then I think they end up first seeing the leprechaun when they're back at the house.
Okay. So I feel like we need to talk about our next step.
Yes. So back to the tiny car, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So we see the tiny car on the road. Yes. And there's the cop just doing like speed patrol.
It would be like the cop is pulling over a little kid because it's this tiny little car going down the road. And the cop pulls him over. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's so good.
Oh, and like, what does he say to him? Where it's like, "Say, aren't you a little young to be out this late?" or something to pull him over.
Yeah. And then the leprechaun just like scratches his face, like claws his face. And we get this like chase through the woods.
Yeah.
I will say, I feel like this scene was way too long.
It was too long. This was too long.
Wait, like this movie is like, it was really fun. Like there were so many fun things. But this scene, it was like, okay, like we're still on the cop.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
Agreed. It took a little too long. Yep.
I'm sorry this went along. Yeah, we get this like cat and mouse. Like first the cop is chasing a leprechaun and then the guy's running away from the leprechaun. Like it took a long time.
Yeah, but he eventually is back in his car.
So he snaps the cop's neck.
Right?
No, in the forest.
In the forest, I think.
Oh, I thought he got
we do then see the cop in the car.
He ends up in his car.
So I think there was a deleted scene, which again, I don't know how because that scene was so long. I do think there was like a deleted scene.
Yeah, because somehow
where he gets back
in his car.
Okay. Yeah, because you're right. That doesn't make sense because he definitely died in the woods, but then was in the car. And that little leprechaun is not going to move that big.
I mean, he's magical, so maybe he could have.
That's true.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. And then I honestly, I cannot tell you if this was from a line or what, but the next thing I have written down in my notes is, OMG, I want Lucky Charms.
Well,
yeah. He said something about Lucky Charms.
I have not had Lucky Charms in like forever.
But I wanted some so bad.
That sounds so good.
Right? We should have got some to put as a garnish.
Damn, we should have. Well, because the leprechaun makes it back to the house at some point, and he's just rummaging through everything. Because again, he's looking for his gold.
Yeah.
So he's going through everything, and part of that is he goes through the kitchen, and in the kitchen he's clearing out a cabinet, and he throws
Lucky Charms.
Yeah, he throws all the cereal. Well, but then it's not Lucky Charms. It's like
knockoff.
It's like like it's something else that looks like clearly meant to be Lucky Charms.
Missed opportunity for marketing from Lucky Charms. Maybe they didn't want to be associated though with this movie.
Yeah, that's true.
And then as he's rummaging through, so he's trashing the place with the exception of he like gets all of their shoes and like cleans them and cleans them up.
Yeah, I didn't get this part.
That's my confusion because I thought that was elves.
Right.
Or do leprechauns do something with shoes? Because that's elves,
I did not understand.
He does
part at all.
Well, that's like his thing, right? He likes his gold and taking care of shoes.
I don't know.
It's like a cobbler.
Yeah, like
all right. Well,
no.
Oh yeah, because those are like elves.
Yeah,
but like.
They had fun with the lore.
Yeah, they did. They had fun with the lore.
Don't get held up on little details.
No, we can't. We'll get lost.
Yeah,
we will get lost and confused.
So he's been rummaging through the house, but then Tori, Nathan, and Ozzy and Alex come back to the house. And again, one of my next favorite quotes. Tori goes, "We're like really scared, okay?"
Oh my God.
I love
I love it.
I was like, I'm sorry, are you Shaggy from Scooby-Doo?
Right?
Like, we're real scared, man.
I love it.
Oh, so good.
And this is where Nathan sees the leprechaun, right? In the cabinets. He's like, cat and mouse again. Like hiding in the cabinets.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, at some point, they then like go outside, and Nathan gets a bear trap to the leg.
Yeah, I don't know how.
Leprechaun throw it at him, or
he bear traps his leg somehow.
Yeah, somehow Nathan gets the old bear trap.
Yeah.
To his leg.
And then they shoot the leprechaun, and we get like all this green ooze coming out.
Oh, yeah.
But it doesn't kill him.
Right. And at this point, Ozzy has gone to call 911, and he does, and it's the local police station. And like laughing it off because last week it was UFOs, so they don't take it seriously at all. And then they all get mad at Ozzy for telling the truth because now they know the cops won't come. So that's that's an element in there.
Yeah. Okay, I don't remember the scene, but I just made a note that said, "OMG," the scene where they're fighting the leprechaun. And I feel like I'm trying to remember what that scene was. I feel like they were all outside.
Yes.
Like all attacking.
Was in the bushes.
Yeah, because at first they see something out in the bushes and they think, oh, it's a bear. And then one of them goes, "That was no fucking bear."
No, yes, it's Jennifer Aniston, because all this time Ozzy has been telling them it's a leprechaun and they haven't actually seen the leprechaun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just remember it being a ridiculous scene.
And they're like
them
just
fighting.
They're just like hitting him.
Yeah, they're just because they're just hitting.
Stick at one point. And then they get
in the car.
Yeah, and then they get a gun at some point, and that's when Nathan shoots. So there's a lot happening.
There's a lot of so there's fights outside. There's fights in the car where there's a cigarette lighter to the face.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, so it's the cat and mouse thing again. Yeah. So
which
at one point when they're like fighting, I loved the scene where they have their big truck and the leprechaun goes in his tiny little car and he like runs into their truck and it totally flips the giant truck over. And again, I just literally I was laughing hysterically out loud. It was so stupid.
It was so good.
Funny.
He had like attached something to the front of it where it was like, oh, okay, yeah, that would definitely flip the car. And then they somehow chop the leprechaun's hand off.
Oh yeah,
so they're like running. So they're
closing the door.
Yeah, so they're like fighting outside. Then they're fighting in the car. Then they run into the house. And then as they're closing the door, they close it on his hand, and it just chops his hand off.
Clean sever.
Again, I'm laughing hysterically, but then the hand is like moving on its own.
Right.
Like is it Thing from?
Yes. From Addams Family.
Addams Family. Yeah.
And then at some point they get back to the city, to the town. I mean, and they're in a diner, and Ozzy and Alex are looking for the gold.
That was earlier. That was before.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah,
but Then they go back because then they see the original guy. When does that happen?
Oh, so that was just Jennifer Aniston's character. That was just Tori.
Okay, so she like went back to see her dad or something, and
the original owner.
Okay, and she finds that he's like in a home.
Yes,
sneaks into the home. And that's where she goes and sees him.
Yes.
I feel like there's something to be said for Jennifer Aniston's career, because if it started with this movie and her acting within this movie, and think of how far this goddess has gone, because I just feel like it's remarkable.
It's an arc for sure.
Yeah.
It's just just amazing.
Well, so apparently she was kind of embarrassed by this movie.
As she should.
I bet. Yeah. And because I think, like, again, so Warwick Davis, who plays the Leprechaun, I feel like he appreciates this movie for what it is, which is why I think he gave us so much. And I think he kind of gave her some flack for that, where it was like she kind of just pretended this movie like didn't exist. Yeah. I think she was kind of like in denial about this movie, which, like, I mean, it's not a good movie, but also I feel like that's part of the thing with acting is like, you're
honor
going to be
your
in
roots.
weird, you're going to be in weird commercials and like
honor
weird
your roots.
shows, weird movies. Like, also of all the movies, like, come on, like, this isn't a piece of cinema, but like, this is a fun movie.
Right.
Like,
I say own it. Like,
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it is. It's so fun. One of my favorite scenes from when they're still like before they headed back into town, is when they're fighting again with the leprechaun, and I think they're back to the kitchen, and I think it's Nathan is like looking for the leprechaun or something, but the leprechaun is clearly inside of a drawer.
Yeah.
And he like reaches his hand out from the drawer and like does this like dick pinch.
Yeah.
Like it just was brutal.
It was brutal. It was brutal.
So then I think what was confusing for me is like Nathan is clearly not doing well. He is feverish from the bear trap to the leg. And they tried, to call from their portable. They're
portable.
It's because at first Ozzy tries to call the police, it doesn't work.
Right.
And so then they try to call, but the battery on Tori's portable died. So they're like, they couldn't get Nathan to the hospital. And yet then all of a sudden they had this Jeep that they used to get to Grady's house.
Right.
Or Grady in the old person's home.
Yeah.
So it was just, it didn't quite make sense.
There's the plot holes.
Yeah.
It's a Swiss cheese movie. A lot of holes.
Speaking of holes, I loved when they were, after they left finding Grady in the old person's home, the leprechaun had like gone through a fence, and it's like a perfect leprechaun shaped hole in the fence.
Well, so that scene, I feel like that was also just like, again, it was just so fun. That was when Tori is going to find the original owner, and she's in the truck, and behind her is the leprechaun on speed skates.
Yes.
Following.
Right.
And that's why he crashes into the fence. Randomly, Warwick Davis was a speed skater. So he's actually really good at skating.
Okay.
And so he used his own skates and performed that stunt.
Well,
in this movie.
Right on.
I wrote down like skating tricks with like 10 X's after that, because like he was amazing. Like all of a sudden,
so
it's
good.
Like, it's so good.
And then we get
Joy's at the old folks' home, and she goes to see Grady, and he's like not facing her. He's in the window in a chair, and she turns it around, and it's the leprechaun. I don't remember what happens then.
And then we get another fun chase scene, which is Tori running away and the leprechaun coming after her in the wheelchair.
That's right. That's right.
Just like, why is he in the wheelchair?
Yeah. And I love like sometimes when they shot him like in his little car or in the wheelchair, they clearly sped up the play speed. And so it looks like he's just moving like an incredibly fast rate.
Like super fast. Yeah. Honestly, I love it. Bring back so that effect.
Yeah. It was amazing. And then is this when we get the next death? Grady?
Yeah, I think so. Oh, wait, yeah, because she's running and she runs into the elevator.
She's running away from the leprechaun and she ends up running into the elevator where we see the actual Mr. O'Grady,
right,
who has been hanging.
Who's dead
from the elevator. Yeah. So, I also noticed as she was running away, where did her big scratches on her leg go? They were gone.
Right.
No, yeah.
Another plot hole.
Yep.
Another plot hole.
Yep.
And let's see.
So I feel like somewhere along the way, Alex and Ozzy realize he needs all of his coins because they tried to give it back to him and he didn't accept it. So they like count his coins and realize they're one short. It's the one that Ozzy ate. And so like they're trying to solve that part of the mystery. And then eventually, where does it go?
I think I might have been a little intoxicated toward the end of the movie because it's all a little fuzzy. I wrote down another quote of "fuck you, Lucky Charms," and then I said, "him dying equals pretty gnarly."
Yeah, because then eventually they all end up back at the house.
Yeah.
And they get him, or so we believe.
Oh yeah, there was so many endings. I think
there was. Yeah.
Because first
so
it's
happening.
like they think they kill the leprechaun, but then they end up not actually, and then I don't know. Does anyone know how this movie ended?
It was so much. There was so much. Okay, another note I made just before we get to the ending is just like, okay, but like, where do the guys live?
Right.
You know, because it's also they just met like 2 hours ago.
Yes.
And they're all just on this journey together.
They're suddenly like a group.
Yeah, and it's like they knew there was danger in the house, and yet they went back to. It's like, where do you guys live? Why couldn't you go back to your house?
I agree. I thought the same thing.
Why are you all here?
I don't know. Because they're a gang now. They're all friends.
I think because part of it is that like Ozzy and Alex want the gold, but then they realize like, oh, he'll just keep killing.
Yeah.
So they're like, the right thing to do is just give him his gold back. So they try to do that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Tori gives him. Tori gives him the bag of gold.
Right.
Yeah. She fishes out from the well.
Yes, which is in the well that's glowing green.
Right. Very subtle.
Yes.
Oh yeah. The lighting in this movie, because like at some point once they figure out that they need a 4-leaf clover to kill him, it's like clearly there's just they're shining a green light on the ground because it's supposed to make
like neon.
It's like neon green, but then they themselves are green as they're looking because clearly it's a light bulb, like flashing at them. It's not like the actual ground is green.
My favorite was like the skeleton light of the little leprechaun. They like blast him, and it like shows his little skeleton.
That was good. That was so good.
Okay, so just watch the movie for yourself and you'll figure it out. But we end up in the ending, and they get him, right? Or so they think.
I don't know why I cannot remember the end of this movie.
Okay, here we go. No, I finally remember.
Okay. It was a long time ago I watched this one.
Yeah, they figured out the 4-leaf clover. They found the 4-leaf clover in the glowing meadows. And the little kid, Alex, or who earlier we had seen using a slingshot, gets the 4-leaf clover and slingshots it into the mouth of the leprechaun, which is what should kill it.
And saves the day.
And I think they push him into the well.
Right.
Well, they push him into the well, and then my question was, so then they put some gas in the well, and then they throw a match down the well, and then it equals this giant explosion.
Right. Oh my gosh, yeah, like a huge, like if they just threw like a bunch of dynamite in there.
Yes, I was like, how would those two things, like first of all, it's a well, so there's a lot of water, and then
and not a lot of air.
They put a little bit of like gasoline, and then they lit it. How does that equal a giant explosion?
It doesn't. And that's it.
My God. Yeah. And then I think we get some hints at a sequel, right? Because then we hear the leprechaun's voice.
Yeah,
I think,
do.
Right?
Yep.
Guys, I didn't realize that I like got drunk at the end of this movie, but I had to have, because I have no idea why I wrote down the last thing I wrote down.
Oh God.
Okay.
I wrote down that our next movie should be Chocolat.
What?
With like 5 exclamation points. Look, you see this, right?
Whatever does that mean?
I don't know. I apparently had decided that
our next movie should be what?
Do you mean that like French film with that lady that's called that Dad likes? It's called Chocolat.
I can only imagine that's what I mean, but I have no idea.
Oh my God!
Like end scene, movie ends, and you're like, I'm gonna write this down.
This is a mystery for another day. If we have any true crime followers,
someone who can
and you can solve this mystery.
Try to get into the
was it just
my brain?
Was it just the recommended movie after you?
Oh wait,
watched this?
Yes. Oh my God, you figured it out. No, that's right. So I'm watching this movie, and then the next movie that went to autoplay was Chocolat.
Why?
That's why I was so confused. Oh my God, that's totally what it was.
All right, mystery solved.
Thank you. I thought
let the algorithm decide for us.
I was losing my damn mind, and I was like, it's not that I wanted to watch it. I was confused as to how that
the algorithm wanted you to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right. So back from that weird tangent.
Apologize.
Oh my God.
You know, this movie is something else. I know that there's a lot of sequels. That's something I know about it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've never seen them, but I've heard about them.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I think it's your husband, Laura, that said that he likes the sequels better.
Yeah, he said that the first one is the worst one, which
Interesting.
I don't know how you can say that because this was an amazing movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, define worst.
Right.
So, okay, I feel like this is just going to be part of my fun facts, and maybe all of them because it's going to take way too long. But for me, when I finished watching the movie, what it recommended was to watch the next movie.
Yeah, nice.
And I was like, oh, there's more? Like, there's more than one? And it's like, so I figured maybe they made this one.
Yeah.
Maybe they made 1, 2, maybe more movies. Oh, no.
There's so many.
There are 7.
Oh my gosh.
Leprechaun movies.
Okay.
And they get just so unhinged. And so after I watched the movie, I watched the trailer for every single one.
Nice.
Because I needed to know. So I'm going to give you just like the super, super basic summary of what's to come in case you also want to go watch the rest of these. So obviously we have the OG Leprechaun. After that, we got Leprechaun 2. And this time they're, oh wait, hold on. I don't want to confuse 2 and 3. Okay, Leprechaun 2 takes place in Los Angeles. So now they go to LA. After that, Leprechaun 3, they go to Vegas. Okay. And the trailer for this was just like exactly what you would expect.
Nice.
Love it. It's just unhinged. And then we get Leprechaun 4 in space.
I saw that because I looked them up too. I was like, Leprechaun in space? What?
Honestly, 10 out of 10 would recommend at least watch the trailer.
I need to.
Honestly, when I watch the trailer, I kind of want to watch this movie. Yeah. I think Leprechaun 4 in space might be in my queue because
it might be the one.
It looks so good. It's just like, why not go to space?
Love it. Love it.
So after Leprechaun 4 in space, we get Leprechaun in the Hood.
Oh.
Yeah. So when we got to this one, I was like, okay, interesting. And again, I watched the trailers for all of these. And who is there starting alongside Leprechaun? But Ice-T is one of the main actors.
That's amazing.
Yes,
I love that. I love that for him.
So Leprechaun goes to Compton, California. And that's what we get.
I bet
Leprechaun in the Hood.
Not okay to watch today.
No way. So then I believe at this point, there was a change in studios. So I think the first 5 were all made by the same studios. And then another studio bought the rights to like continue it. And this studio said, you know what? That last one was such a good idea that the next movie that came out was Leprechaun Back to the Hood.
Oh, I saw that one too.
The studio said going there once is not enough. We have to go back.
Yep.
Back to the Hood.
Solid choice.
So then after that, we get Leprechaun Origins, which is a full reboot of this one.
Okay.
And I want to say it was this one where when you see the trailer, it's like it is a full like it looks exactly like this movie.
Okay.
The house is the same. There's a well. It's teenagers. Like it's just a full redo, which is like, why?
If it doesn't have Jen Aniston, why do it?
Right?
Do they all have Warwick Davis in it?
I think so. I think he starred in all of them.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
He at least stuck around for the majority of them.
Okay.
If I remember correctly. And then it's through 2018. In 2018, we got the most recent one, which is Leprechaun Returns. And then I think that's supposed to be kind of the sequel to Leprechaun Origins.
I see.
So that one picks up with him escaping from the well.
Nice.
So there's a whole saga apparently, and honestly, I kind of want to know how they thought they could do this. Apparently they tried to create some sort of combo crossover film with Candyman.
Oh my gosh, what?
Huh.
How?
Which, I mean, we've done Candyman.
Right.
That is a, like, I feel like they're just like, they're not in the same.
That is a different universe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like, and not even league sport, right?
Yes. Like a whole different planet. Like,
yeah.
I don't get that. I don't get that.
I think they were trying to do like a Freddy versus Jason situation, but Candyman Leprechaun, which I honestly, I sat with this for a minute because it was like, but how?
Yeah, no.
I need someone to give me like the basic story. I'm just, part of me is so curious where it's like, I need to know just like, how were you going to combine them?
And also why?
Yeah, and why?
Is it because, Leprechaun and candy, or I don't know. I can't
don't even.
They're motivated by completely different things.
Yeah, I don't get it.
So I don't know. That was out there in the world, and we never got to see it.
How weird.
So that's the quick summary of all the sequels. I will be watching at least Leprechaun 4 in space.
Yes,
personally.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know. Maybe we should just do like a marathon. We just want them all.
I don't know if I could or would want to.
I feel like you have to like that style of. I love bad movies. I'll put in quotes. I love B movies, low budget movies. They're a guilty pleasure of mine. And I think Leprechaun 4 in space.
Yeah. I think they have a time and a place.
Yeah.
You have to be in the right headspace.
This was not it for me.
See, I was right there, apparently.
I think, yeah. We'll get to it. All right. So maybe we should jump into some psych.
Yeah.
Let's do it. So I had 4 thoughts while watching this movie of directions I could go for psych. I only chose 2, but I want to let you know the topics I was thinking.
Okay.
We could cover. The first was shoe compulsions.
I hope that's one of them.
I didn't that one.
I'm let down.
The next was stereotypes, because this movie was chock full of them. The next was greed.
Interesting.
And the last was fixing brains.
I hope that's the other one you chose.
That is the other one I chose.
Brains.
Was fixing brains. So let's just talk about stereotypes.
All right, if we must.
So stereotypes are our way of social categorization.
Yes.
And really, it has an actually very useful evolutionary reason why people stereotype. So you do it to categorize, to simplify, and process the complex world. So really, it's a good way of, you see things that are similar and you've had an experience that you know about. And then say, you see a bear and the bear killed your friend. And so then you see another bear and you're like, okay, I'm going to assume that bear is dangerous because I've seen this before. I have this like reference. It actually can serve a very useful purpose. That's why we do it in the first place. Which makes sense, right?
Right.
But really it's problematic because you infer that a person has very, very specific characteristics and abilities just based off of members of their quote unquote group. So it can be, very problematic because humans are much more complex than that. So other disadvantages would be that we just generalize people and we ignore the differences that people within the same group actually have from each other. And also the similarities that they might have to people in our own groups. And there's all different kinds of groups that people can have. But it comes from differences in your culture, your life experience, your social groups. That's why you might have various stereotypes or not. But I just feel like this movie was nothing but like stereotypes about Irish people.
Oh, yes. Going hard on that.
So some consequences when you over rely on stereotypes is it dehumanizes people. It's Leprechaun, I feel like. I mean, leprechauns aren't human, right, though? They're leprechauns.
I mean, that's a hard-hitting question.
I mean, was the leprechaun a human?
Well, I feel like he was a cursed human. right?
Oh, yes.
I mean, I feel like they're kind of, I mean, again, they're not subtle. They're very much being like, Tori is also very much so just into money.
Right.
And, you know, fixing things with money and being obsessed with it and blah, blah. Whereas the leprechaun is, you know, has been cursed to only feel that way.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think in a way, right, he's just a cursed person.
Hot take. Yeah.
Way to see past the stereotypes.
Yeah.
You know?
So it can also be really harmful when stereotypes are just so dominant in that people can internalize and self-stereotype. And then it leads to this thing called a stereotype threat, where you fear doing something that's going to confirm a stereotype. So like this leprechaun might be afraid to do something that's going to make him appear greedy, even if he's not doing it because he's greedy, but he doesn't want to like perpetuate that stereotype.
Right, totally.
So what you can do about stereotypes is spend time with people who are different from you, who are in different groups. What? Why are you laughing at me?
I'm not laughing. Sorry. Here you go.
You can understand your own bias.
Okay.
And challenge them. So like maybe you have a bias against leprechauns.
It just feels like one of those like after school specials.
Oh my God. All right, fine. Psych segment done. No, I'm done.
You bullied Laura out of her psych segment.
No, I love it. I think it's so good. Carry on. So we understand our own bias, and then what do we do?
No, we're not. I'm not going to do that anymore. Actually, have you heard of that? Oh shoot! Now I'm going to forget the website. But there's this implicit bias test that you can do. Have you ever heard of that?
Yes, I have. I took a psych class once. We talked about it.
So there's this website that you can go to, and you can test your implicit bias, and you can do it about all kinds of things, like people of different cultures, different races, different genders. And you go through, and what you do is you have to rapidly make a decision. You have to rapidly answer things. And at the end of it takes a decent amount of time, like maybe like 5 minutes. You're like constantly just rapidly answering these questions. And then it gives you kind of a rating on how biased you are toward a certain thing. I actually did mine on gender. And I do have a slight bias, like putting women into more feminine type of boxes.
Interesting.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So I have a slight bias against women, apparently.
Yeah, well. Talk about the patriarchy.
Right? I mean, my goodness. Okay, so when I was researching, I found this book, because I think I had just Googled like psychology behind stereotypes. And I found this book that's called The Things They Say Behind Your Back, Stereotypes and the Myths Behind Them. Ooh. So as I'm looking at this book, I can't actually say a lot of the things, because each chapter is about different stereotypes you might have, like Jewish people or Italians or
this is
like
intense.
Wow,
really intense.
I'm looking at the list right now. Just like
just the titles of the
you shouldn't
parts of the chapters. I'm
not allowed to say that out loud.
No, you're not allowed to say most.
Yeah.
Nor should you. And I don't know what the stance from this book is.
Right.
But I just wanted to say what the stereotypes of Irish people are from this book.
Oh,
because we get so much of them in this movie.
Yes.
So I'm not saying that any of these are accurate or anything.
I think we could do the ones we saw in the movie.
Yeah. So I'm just going to say some of the ones. So a stereotype about Irish people is that they're heavy drinkers. That is a stereotype we've heard.
Opening scene.
Like that's and get that. That's our opening scene. The guy's just chugging, of course, Jameson.
Right.
Yeah.
So I went to Ireland this past summer, and we did a lot of like Irish whiskey tastings, and so good. Oh my gosh, like delicious whiskey. Apparently there's a stereotype of Irish people that they're good at politics. I haven't heard that one.
This is like when like you're in school and it's like, oh, we're celebrating Black History Month, and because of that, we're going to tell you all the stereotypes that you shouldn't listen to. And it's like, oh, what a fun way to learn stereotypes. I didn't know that one before today.
I know, right?
Yes,
I know. Like, exactly. I don't know. And once I've gone through this, I'll go up to the top to see when this book was written, because it's atrocious. Like,
it's
the titles of stuff, and I couldn't believe it. Also, like, really religious and like sexually repressed, but that's a stereotype of Catholics,
right?
Mm-hmm.
And Catholic is the predominant religion in Ireland. But also that they're like witty and gregarious,
mm-hmm.
and then there's the stereotype of the fighting Irish.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
this one covers them.
It covers them for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I just like the titles of stuff in this book was just wild. Absolutely
God, yeah.
Wild.
Let's see when this book was made. This book, 1982.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay, next topic. Brain surgery.
Okay.
To fix broken brain. So to summarize, you cannot have surgery to fix your broken brain or to make you smart.
Mm.
Except when you can.
Oh.
So brain surgery actually can be beneficial and helpful. For example, like kids with epilepsy,
mm-hmm.
they can have brain surgery, and it actually can, stop them from having seizures.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you have certain parts of your brain that like the connections are severed,
mm-hmm.
it can stop them from having seizures and actually can increase their IQ.
Interesting.
Oh, that is interesting.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's probably because, the IQ is one of those things where it's said to be fixed. It's like, it is what it is, but that's not really true, especially when you're having constant seizures that's impairing your ability to kind of focus.
Oh, yeah.
And attend to things. If you stop those seizures from happening, it actually can. So I thought that was kind of interesting in that technically you can.
Yeah. I feel like IQ is like, that's cursed knowledge,
I feel like similar to BMI. Like,
yeah,
you don't need to know that number, and it actually doesn't mean anything to our current situation.
Right.
Like,
where it's like, I feel like it's kind of a lose-lose, right? Like, if it's higher than you thought it'd be, it's like, that's kind of cursed. And if it's lower than you hoped it'd be, that's also cursed.
Right.
You know?
So I give IQ tests, like, on average, once a week or every other week, because that's part of my job.
Mm-hmm.
And they're really interesting because, they can be helpful in certain ways, but also it's a certain point in time, and it's just one number, and also it doesn't tell you the whole picture. Picture.
Mm-hmm.
But because of that, when I was going to school for my degree, I had to give a lot of practice tests. So I've practiced on family. So I've given a test to my husband. I've given a test to your husband. And so it's kind of fun to just like, I don't know, have that information.
Yeah.
But also, I probably couldn't get an IQ test now because I just...
You know how to
know it. Yeah.
Right. I know most of the tests. I guess I could take one that is not considered like one of the gold standard IQ tests.
Yeah. Like the ones you see like online, it's like IQ in 5 minutes.
Right.
Maybe
ones aren't legit.
Yeah.
Maybe I should take one of those.
Right.
But so then I went down the rabbit hole of looking at lobotomies.
Oh, I've had one.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I can see that jump.
Yeah, I had one of those.
Because so that's the kind of brain, surgery they used to do to kind of fix your brain.
Right.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so the procedure started in 1949, and then it got pretty popular in like the late 40s, early 50s.
Mm-hmm.
But what's really sad though is a lot of the times, like a big portion of people that got lobotomized was men who were gay.
Yeah.
Or a lot of women. Mm-hmm. So the ratio of women to men getting lobotomized was like huge. Right. And that says a lot for just kind of, again, stereotypes and society at the time. It is not like people don't get lobotomies.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is it?
No, people don't get lobotomies now.
Because sometimes I feel like you'll hear of things that still are a practice, and you're like, what?
No, and there can be like that surgery for people with epilepsy to kind of cut certain connections. I think it's the center kind of line between the two hemispheres of your brain, if you cut that.
Okay.
But that's very different than like just going up through the frontal lobe and just like scrambling around. That does not happen.
Yeah.
Like that's not a thing. Because it led to a lot of adverse outcomes, as one could imagine.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
So Ozzy is not going to be getting his brain fixed.
Good for him.
Yeah. But you know what? He doesn't need it.
He doesn't need it.
He doesn't need it.
Good for you, Ozzy.
Great the way he is.
Yeah.
So anyway, there's my psych.
There she blows.
I love it.
Wow, what a movie.
Yeah.
All right, do we have any?
I mean, there actually are a lot of fun facts. I can like skim through. I'll skim through some of these. One that I caught, I don't know how much of the credits you guys paid attention to.
I was distracted by my recommendation for Chocolat.
Yeah, before I dove into the sequels and watching all the trailers. Part of the special thanks was George Lucas, which I was like, wait, what? Like,
what for?
Why George Lucas? So it turns out Warwick Davis was under contract to him, I think for a different movie or a different project or something. So he had to give him permission to appear in this movie. And he granted it to him. So that's why he gets the special thanks in the credits. But I was like, wait, George Lucas?
Yeah, right? Random.
Was he?
Yeah,
Did he a part of this?
Yeah.
Type of vibe.
No, but that makes sense, actually. Okay.
Yeah. During the making of this movie, I guess originally they wanted it to be a little scarier, maybe a little bit more gore, more like Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, kind of style. But another part of it was like, oh, but maybe let's actually make it more fun, like Gremlins or something like that. And I think they gave Warwick Davis a lot of like room to play. And so he took it much more in that silly approach, like more like Gremlins. Let's make this fun. Honestly, I feel like for this movie, I feel like that was probably the right call.
I think that was the right call.
I think that made it more fun to rewatch.
Yeah.
You know, especially like looking at some of the sequels, it's like I feel like they tried to go scary with something. It's like I feel like it just doesn't work.
Yeah, know who you are.
Yeah.
Movie,
it's like just lean into it.
Right.
I like that it was kind of that mixture of funny and scary. Yeah, for sure.
Well, because some of the deaths they were kind of gory.
They were gory.
Yeah. So we get a good blend. Let's see. We already talked about this, but obviously Jennifer Aniston would later go on to star in Friends. I think it was just a year after this movie came out, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And some people didn't want her to be the lead actress. I guess like it actually took like one person who was making this movie really liked her and saw something, but otherwise they were just going to go with another actress. Like I think not everyone was convinced that she was right for the role, which is, I mean, I don't think she gave us her A game in this movie.
I do think she was really good for the role.
Yeah.
Like, I think she knows how to play that part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and so this movie would go on to be a giant success, mainly because people were like, oh, hey, Jennifer Aniston's in it. I'll go watch it. So, I mean, I think they made like $15 million, which is crazy because their budget was like zero.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I picked it, because once I saw the title that goes with St. Patrick's Day. And then when I saw she was in it, I was like, oh, well, that's what we got to do.
Right.
Yeah. No, I mean, her star appeal definitely helped launch this movie. And I'm assuming is part of the reason why we got so many sequels. She's not in any of them.
Yeah.
But it's like this single one was able to carry them through to make so many more. Let's see. Oh, I talked about it with the skating, but Warwick Davis did perform most of his own stunts for this movie, which I don't know. I feel like that's just so fun when they do it themselves. Laura, you were right on in terms of the clover being like a wooden stake to vampires. That was exactly what the writer and director was hoping for, was that the four-leaf clover would operate in the same way.
That came across.
And is that a thing?
I know that four-leaf clovers are supposed to be lucky. Like, I know that they're like...
But I've never heard of them to...
No.
Well, but also, I've never heard of leprechauns being bad. I mean, I've heard of the kind of like
being
tricky.
Yeah, like being a little mischievous.
But
I think we can assume based on other things in this movie that they made this up for this movie.
Yeah.
But please someone correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I agree. I agree. I mean, I've got a lot of opinions on this movie. But for the most part, I enjoyed it. I am just for me, like, I have to be in the mood for this kind of movie. And like, I'll give a little backstory. I had like stayed over at Laura's and I just came home really early in the morning and I like had nothing else to do. So I watched this movie at like 8 a.m. So that might be part of why like I didn't enjoy it.
It's a weird time to watch it.
Much.
That's
like that was weird. This might be playing into my.
That could be part of it.
But I'm going to give it. Oh, because we need to say our thing.
Here on Spooky Sips, we don't give stars. We give sips. So, Brianna, how many sips are you giving this?
So, for me, I super respect its stance in horror. I think it fits. So, I'm going to give it a 2.5.
Okay.
Because I actually still enjoyed watching it.
2.5. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoyed watching it like a little bit, but I think I more just give it that because, like, I think we have to honor.
Okay.
What it is to us. So that's all I got. I got 2.5. That's it.
Yeah. I feel I was surprised. Honestly, I'm surprised you gave it that high of a rating, like for you, because I was also thinking like a 2.5.
Right.
But that's because I like love this style movie. I'm like actually really surprised we're giving it the same rating.
Yeah, I just super respect the craft of it.
Yeah.
Like I think he played the leprechaun perfectly.
Yeah.
And I think it was a fun movie in general. And I think like it's one of those silly little ones that you should see.
It's so fun. It's a fun movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was just in a really good place for this movie. For some reason, I was like in that kind of silly, ridiculous mood. And the fact for as being a horror movie, I would rate it a lot lower.
Oh yeah.
But just for some reason, I was feeling this movie, so I don't want to quite give it a 3 because a 3 is one that I'm like, yeah, it's like good. I recommend. But I would give it maybe like a 2.8.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just a little bit below a 3.
Yeah. That's solid.
I really liked it.
Yeah.
Solid. Yeah. All right. Well, next time on Spooky Sips, we will be watching what year was it?
2019.
2019 movie Pure, which is part of Hulu's Into the Dark anthology. That's where you can find it. So if you haven't seen it yet, get watching and get sipping. And we'll see you next time on Spooky Sips.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Spooky Sips. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you're listening. To stay up to date on all the spooky things we're up to, follow us on Facebook and Instagram at SpookySips_podcast. And if you want to help support the podcast, consider buying us a coffee, or really a cocktail. We are completely independent, so every little bit goes a long way to keeping our podcast running and improving. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.